What's up, Soul Warriors? I am so honored and grateful to be here with you for this Saturday night soul session live with me, LC. And I got an amazing human being on the other line just waiting to come through and share his amazing story, his genius, and his whole path to conscious recovery. He is author, international speaker, access consciousness facilitator. I mean, this guy has got it all under his belt. This is Mr. Brendon Walls, and he wants to talk to you about how addiction can be a gift. And I'll ask you that question: is addiction a gift? In my opinion, I feel like absolutely. But there was a time in this 8-year stretch of recovery that I didn't think so. And so my whole goal for you in this season 4 of the Recovery Soul Food podcast is to continuously introduce you to some of the greatest, the brightest minds in the conscious recovery movement. And Mr. Brendon Watt is absolutely one of them. So let me do a little bit of housekeeping and give y'all time to go ahead and share this video out, like it, put it on the algorithms, and let it go far and wide. You're not going to want to miss a single second of this, and you might even want to grab a pen and paper. There may be some notes to take in here. Always invest in you. Find a resource where a resource lives. All right. So if you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. If you feel led, please subscribe to our channel. Turn on your bell notifications so you can get notified when we put up new videos. I got live guests every Saturday night, live at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you are on Facebook, like us, share us, follow us. You know, this is the place to be for conscious recovery. Just information and inspiration and motivation. So I'm done. I can't talk about anything else. I'm ready to get on with this guest. I'm so honored to have Mr. Brendon Watt here with me and you guys here on the Recovery Soul Food podcast. So if you're ready, we're ready. Let's go. Brendon Watt, hello. Thank you for being here, man. Welcome to Recovery Soul Food.
Hey, my friend. Thank you for having me.
This is probably a strange time for you right now, so I appreciate you. Where are you on the planet?
I'm in Houston, so it's
thank gosh.
7. Yeah.
Oh, thank gosh, because I'm thinking that you're way across.
It's not 3 a.m. or anything.
Oh, thank God. Thank gosh. I'm so happy because I don't feel so stressed. Like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this.
No, you're
so
good.
Brendon, I got to speak with a member of your team quite a few weeks ago, and all of a sudden I was introduced to this huge world of Brendon Watt, and I have been an absolute fan ever since. I guess we got to start with, how do you come to be on this conscious recovery podcast? Like, how did you get here, man?
Well, good question. It's like, I mean, I grew up in Australia and basically had the point of view of myself growing up that I'd never really amount to anything. I'd just do the normal life. And I started actually being a tradesman. I was a tradesman in Australia, a construction worker. And that was basically from the age of like 16 until 30. I thought that was it. It was working week to week and just miserable. I didn't like my life at all. And it was 12 years ago that I found access consciousness, and things started turning around with that, while still having the addiction, but my life was still changing over the years. And it's like, and then, stepping into being a speaker and these other different roles, it's like, it all just kind of showed up really quickly. And then it's like, you're like, how the hell did I get here? I would never have dreamed of it at all.
Yeah. Don't you find it so I don't even know what the word is, honestly, but when you start opening up and you start accessing your own consciousness, when you start really understanding how much you are designing your life,
Yeah.
even when you're sitting in a place that feels stuck, and you'll fight for that limitation of your 3D reality. What I see is all there is.
Yeah.
You fight for that, and you numb it, and you drink, and you destroy, you sit in relationships that are just awful, for you and the other person. And so I think that the best gift that addiction and recovery gave me was that ability, or that introduction into my own consciousness and how powerful I actually was. So
Yeah.
what was the moment for you that, tell me what that moment looked like when you just said, holy shit, something's got to change and
Yeah.
I got to do it.
Yeah. It was a slap to the face of magnitude. I started getting the sense last year, at the start of last year, and because it's only been 5 months now.
Oh,
And I say
wow.
only because it's like 5 months. Seriously, it feels like it seriously feels like a different lifetime. So,
Oh, wow. Yes.
but I got to a point where I became very aware of what my future was going to be like if I didn't stop. But the thing that actually got me, because I'd tried stopping over probably the previous 12 months, but I was doing, I'd do it for my relationship. I'd do it for my job. I'd do it because it was wrong. I'd do it because it was right. I'd do it for all of these different things, and it
Mm,
just wouldn't stick at all. And the thing that actually got me, to be honest with you, was I actually got a glimpse of what my future could be without it. Without
mm.
the addiction, and the
Wow.
sense of just, when you can kind of get a sense of, you get a sense of doom and gloom if you go down one path, but you get a
Yeah.
sense of just a whole different world if you go down another. Well,
Mm.
I knew at that point that it's like I needed drastic change and I needed help getting there.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think that finding the right help is probably a huge part of that story. But then at the same time, that huge part of your change is, whenever you're done, like, when you come to that place that you just spoke about, which is, I know something's got to change, and it's got to be different. I can't do it for this person, or the shame and all of that, those big heavy chains of addiction that we carry around,
Yeah.
are all the things that, through our consciousness, we get to start taking off and realize, oh, I've been carrying this shame all my life and I didn't even need to. It's like the freedom that comes along with truly going within. I do a podcast with my good friend, Pamela Topchian, called The Transgender Mentor, and we were just talking about that last night. It's like, the further we get away from ourselves, our divine selves, we want to numb it. We keep running farther. We think the answers are something else outside of us. And to know that recovery means just stopping where you are, and turn around and walk back to yourself. Like,
Yeah.
that's like coming home, because I see you as a guy that's, already just, there is a lightness about you. There is this excitement about life that you see behind the eyes of someone who
Yeah.
has gone within themselves.
Well, it's funny with that too. Like I like in the last 10 years, even with being more in the public, I'd have people say to me, "Oh, you've got so much confidence and all of this." And this is while I had the addiction. And I was like, "No, I actually don't." And I wouldn't tell anyone that. For me, that was a front. It was a total image. It's like I could walk out of the house. I could walk onto a stage in front of hundreds of people and be like, "I'm here." But I walk off that stage and I would crumble,
Mm,
and
mm,
it just got to a point where I was like, how do you speak to people about being everything that they are and creating a more conscious world when you have got this massive secret in your world, and you're
yes.
hiding that from yourself. And that was one of the big wake ups for me too, was I knew that if I was going to be the difference that is true for me, that I enjoy about myself, then that needed to change also.
Yes, that's exactly how I felt about, about publicly. I was already a speaker and, was doing well. And then I was telling people about, all this great life. And if you take care of the roots of your addiction, then you don't have to hide from it. And there I was with this big secret of being transgendered and not, and I felt that same exact way. That thing is like, so how do I keep telling people to do all they are and be all they are and love themselves if I never love myself?
Yeah.
And so that's why I chose to continue to do it publicly, because we got to show it can be done. It's hard, it can be done, and it's amazing to make that choice for yourself and do it from that place of, I'm not going to be a hypocrite here. If I'm telling them how to get something, I want to get it too, and not just a little bit of it. And I go back to part of your story as being a tradesman and just living that mundane life that you knew happiness was not going to come out of.
Yeah.
And, in those moments, do you think back to like, do you ever flash back to those days whenever you're not feeling it or you're feeling like giving up or whatever? Do you ever flash back to those days and say, if I give up this path, this is what I go back to, or worst? Do you
Yeah.
keep
Well, I
that with you?
actually, yeah, like I was the other day, I actually looked at it because I was like, I was having a moment where I, it wasn't I was going to go back to the drinking or anything like
Right,
that, but I
right.
was just like cranky.
Yeah,
And
that mindset.
yeah, and I actually just got present with myself, and I was like, and I looked around my house, and I started thinking about my friends and the people I have in my life, and all of these different things, and then I flashed back to 12 years ago, and I went, holy shit! Like if you would have told me 12 years ago that
Yeah.
I would have what I have now and be who I am now, I would. No way. No, it's not going to happen. And
Yeah.
I just in that moment I had this huge flood of gratitude for not just the choices I've made, but just for like just we kind of give up on just looking around and going, well, I have me.
Yes.
I
Yes.
have me, and that's. I know it sounds easy to say, and I get that, but one of the things I love about facilitating is I have so much to draw upon. It's like it's one thing to say something to somebody. You could have a successful life. It's one thing to also
Yeah.
know what it's like to not have a successful life and to be in
Yeah.
massive amounts of judgment of yourself, basically hate yourself, have a shitty life, have no money, be abused, all of that stuff, to something different. Then it's the
Yeah.
pragmatics of, yeah, okay, how do I get there?
Absolutely. Well, talk to us, because I know you have a lot of experience. Talk to us about some of those ways that you get there, because I get what you're saying. It's easy to say that now, but there was a time in your life, because I know it was in my life during this journey, that it wasn't so easy. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like you still couldn't see it. So talk to us about some of your practices. You mentioned gratitude, and that was going to be my next question. How important is gratitude to
I
you?
would say I would say hugely.
Yeah.
One of the and gratitude's an interesting thing because, well, first of all, you can't have gratitude and judgment together. They
Right.
cannot they cannot coexist.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like if you're in judgment of something, it's well, what could I be grateful about with this or for this?
Yeah.
But the other thing with it too is, and what I see, and I see where I do it myself is, when I first started the recovery, this last like actually chose to do it. I spent 2 months in a rehab place in Italy, and it was horrible. It was the worst 2 weeks of my life. I nicknamed it the Italian prison camp because it was horrifying, but I needed it,
Yeah.
And in there, one of the things I got was I'm never going to be not grateful for my life again. And I got out and I was just like, had the gratitude. And I noticed after a few months, even that starts to, you're like, oh, I wish I had more of this, or I should have
Yeah.
more of that. I should be better at this. And it's like, but that's a conditioning. And that's something that you really have to be present in your life and
Yes.
recognize that it's each and every choice that gratitude is in. It's not
The
just a one
thing.
choice universe.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. And it goes so much different than the things or the people.
Yeah,
I
true.
always like to say there's a thing, the gratitude that I talk about that's life changing is much deeper than making a list for your car or, contriving to try or judge what you should be grateful for
Yeah,
versus connecting with that even if it's one thing, that just connecting in with it, whatever it is for you at whatever stage it is. In the beginning for me, it couldn't be me. In the beginning I would think of, you know my son or something that just gave me that intense feeling of gratitude, and then sit in that. And as you do that, that is life changing, because you used a great word, as far as that's the conditioning. And we're
yeah,
being conditioned, from the moment that we show up here on earth
true story.
till the moment we leave. And it's about how in control of that conditioning do you want to be? That was the question I asked myself. If all of this outside noise is sending in, conditioning to my mind, I can make different decisions. I know, was that a practice for you? Was that something that you went through a work on?
Oh, big time. I mean, I did my first seminar with Access Consciousness, and I was in this seminar, and the founder of it was facilitating it and speaking, and he's Gary Douglas, and he said everything that you have in your life today, everything that you have and everything you are is based off every single choice you've ever made. And when he said that, something just clicked in my world, because what I'd done was, no, I've just ended up here. I'm
Yeah,
unhappy because of all the abuse when I was a kid. I have
right.
no money because I was always poor. I have no confidence because nobody showed me that. I had an excuse for everything, and what I
Yeah.
was doing was I made myself and created myself as a victim.
Yes.
And I see a lot of us do that, but it's
Yeah.
like, once again, it's like, if we, rather than be educated on, well, we always have another choice. So when I heard that, I went, okay, so if I've created this pile of shit called my life by the choices that I've made, surely I can make different choices. And I did. I started making different choices, and my life started changing.
Yeah. Yeah. Without a doubt. It just seems like from the moment that you even make the smallest first choice, that your confidence in that just begins to grow, because all of a sudden now, when we see our choices creating, the results. But it's like it's in moments like that when you can make a small choice and see the result of it begins to build that, oh, I really can do this.
Yeah.
It's a massive shift. I began, in my mind, that was what I knew that I could grab a hold of needed to change. And so just started making. I watched a Bob Proctor free seminar first, like before I got, because I believe, like you, that recovery starts before abstinence. Like you said, you were already, working in access consciousness
Yeah.
before the drinking stopped. And so I think that people that sometimes listen to these things that are still using, I think that they don't give themselves enough credit. When you start reaching out to make a different decision, like something you want to hear to better yourself or grow yourself, you're already starting the process
Yeah.
of recovery, and the rest of that stuff will follow. It just naturally will. So thank you for sharing so much amazing information in just that statement. But I thought the thought processes were so important, and that Bob Proctor webinar changed my life because it talked to me about that gratitude. And it was the little things that started growing for me. I mean, talk to us. I guess we've mentioned access consciousness a couple times now. So talk to us about it and how it has affected your life.
Well, it started off with, there's a basically the one of the first seminars in access consciousness is called the bars, and it's a hands-on body process, 32 points on the head, and basically they're lightly touched, and it's like erasing all the shit out of your head, clearing the
Mm,
computer bank, put simply. And this was my first session. Like, I'd got to a point in my life where I just wanted to give up. I
yeah.
hated myself, I hated my life, and I've got a 4-year-old son at that stage, and he's like, and I was sharing a bedroom with him at my mother's house, this tiny bedroom, and he'd wake up going, Dad, what are we doing today? Like, and I'd be like, oh, I want to go back to bed. I'm depressed. And I just went, you know what? God, universe, whatever is there, I need help. And it was the next day I found this little ad in the newspaper, which was, all of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. Call Mel. And I was like, what is this? But I called this girl and she's like, hey, this is what we do. And I got this session and it quite literally changed my life. And she's like, hey, can I ask you some questions while I'm doing this? And I was like, sure. And I laid there and sobbed for an hour and a half. And it was just everything that I'd suppressed in my life, all of that difference that I'd pushed down, all of the joy that I knew that was available that I wasn't willing to access, like all of it, all of the abuse that I didn't want to speak about, all of the pain in my life. And it just came flooding out. And after it, I went, oh, wow. Like I actually had a sense of space in my world. So I just kept going, kept doing these seminars, kept doing different things. But basically it's a set of tools and processes that can change any area of your life that's not working. And it's all about empowering you, which is the thing that got me. It was about can you just tell me what to do, please?
Yeah.
No, because it's like, you hear that thing of you can teach, you can give a man a fish, what's that saying? It's like
he'll eat for the day, or you
eat
can
for the
teach
day, or you can teach him fish and he'll eat for the rest of his life. Well, basically that. It's like you've got to we have to empower ourselves and get that I'm the only one who knows what's true for me.
Yes.
You're the only one who knows what's true for you. Yet, this world tends to condition us to look for the answer, and here's what you should do. Here's how you should live, and it's like, but what about the magic? What about the magic of us and the uniqueness and the beauty and I love being around someone when they're just like, they're just them.
Yes. That's the beauty of it. That's the divinity of it all, is because the divinity is that we were made to be, this unique being, not sharing any other, thing with another human being. We have a technical difficulties.
Oh, I really hope that's not my internet. I can, oh wait, I can hear you, I think. You're cutting out, but I'm hoping it's... Oh boy. I'm not sure if you can still hear me, but I think I lost you. So we're still live. You have me here now. I'm taking over the show. So I'm not sure if this is still playing live on YouTube, but I might as well keep talking as soon as I have an audience. But so this thing with there you are.
Thank you. Sorry.
I was like, well, it looks like I'm taking over the show. And I was like, I might as well keep going if I've got an audience.
I love it. Oh, I'm so glad you did. I was so afraid you were going to be gone. I was like, what's happening, man?
I would have talked for the next 40 minutes.
I love it. Thank you. You got to be my co-host more often. Now catch me up, because I missed this. I left us on empowering you. Yeah. And that is so important, man.
Yeah, it is. And it's like, to get that gift, like to actually have to reach, and like to reach for your awareness and actually be in question of, okay, if I was choosing what's true for me right now, what would I choose? And I'll tell you the easiest way to start playing with this is, one of the tools that we have is, whatever's heavy is what's not true for you. When you get that clunk in your world, or you go to choose something, it's just like, ugh. Well, what's the lie in that is
Yes.
the question. But so you have that, and then so whatever's light for you is what's true for you. So what we've done is we've basically learned to navigate our lives, and our GPS system is judgment. We
Yep.
go right or wrong is our two choices, rather than light and heavy.
Yep.
And the light and heavy is actually is an acknowledgement of energetically what's actually true for you.
Yes.
It might be not true for the person next to you, or for your girlfriend, or for your boyfriend, or for your wife or husband, or whoever. But it starts giving you a sense of you can make a choice. It doesn't, like, it gives you that sense of heaviness. And rather than now go into the wrongness or into the doubt or into the judgment, you can go, you know what, I can make another choice.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
start navigating your life that way. And it's like, this is where we have to recognize that our lives are not made up of big choices.
Right.
It's
Right.
each and every choice that we make them. So it's which creates the space from which we live. And so for me, if I 5 months ago, when I was like, basically I was like, shit, I may have just ended my career. I may have just lost all of everything. And I was like, okay, so I could have sat in that big pile of shit,
Yep.
but I went, you know what? Okay, what's the choices that I need to be making today?
Yes. 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 And it does, just even using that language, going to light and heavy versus right and wrong,
Yeah.
just changes the story about it, because we are living our lives from the stories that we are telling ourselves about something else. And I think that we've come to a place in life where we're so worried about, hurting other people, or trying to keep people happy, or keep the space, or not offending anyone, that we live in a heaviness, because we're not being, true to ourselves, and acknowledging what is true for us. And when we begin to do that, people will see us as not the same. And sometimes that starts being afraid. But as you walk, I think, in the lightness, more and more and more, you discover that it's an amazing place to live, that it's much easier to live here than the darkness. And you're not carrying the resentment, because judgment always equals resentment, whether it's for a thing or a person or for ourselves. We're carrying that around, and that's part of that disease that we are. I mean, we're sicker now in this world than we've probably ever been in times.
I would agree with you. I would,
And
yeah,
and we're not acknowledging, we're just now starting to acknowledge how much our mental and emotional health has to do with what we're going through. And
yeah,
so I think the information that we are sharing right now, and what you've chosen to share in your journey, I think is so vital. And I love to watch how the universe works in people's lives, even my own, just in how you make this shift and you say, well, I don't know, but this feels right for me, and I'm going to share this.
yeah,
And then, and then give it out. Like, the need for it to be something is not there. Now you just want to let it go and let it do what it's supposed to do. There's a trust
yeah,
there.
yeah, definitely. And it's like, we live in an interesting world where it's like, we try and, on one hand you want to fit in, but then on one hand you want to get free, and it's like
Yeah.
they don't work together. And it does take courage to actually get present in your life and look at, okay, one of the things for me was I knew I needed to get brutally honest with myself, or
Oh
begin
gosh.
that journey,
Yes. Yes.
because I had lied to myself my whole life, lied about who I was to me and what I actually desired to create. And I knew since I was a kid that I wanted to make a difference in the world. I knew
Yes.
that. I just, and
Me
not
too.
from, what, I'm going to go out there and, speak to the world, blah, blah, blah. I just wanted to be able to know that I could, like, contribute to somebody's life,
Yes. Yes.
and
Yes.
it's like, and then as in growing up, you start learning about judgment. And then it's like, you're like, where did my dreams go? Like, where did that joy go? Where did that wonder go? Where did that curiosity go?
Yes.
Where did the question go? and
Absolutely.
it's not something that's gone. It's just something that needs to be chosen again.
Mm, mm. And there it is. And it's that easy, it's that easy. I just feel that it's that easy to make that choice. And it's not going to feel exactly right because our nervous system is still vibrating in the way that we have created it to. So in making that different choice, it's going to be a bit uncomfortable. And that was in the early times. That was like the way that I knew I was kind of on the right path, is how uncomfortable this
Yeah.
made me feel. And it almost became like this daily challenge of how much can I, be uncomfortable and not have to use and show myself that I can get through this and that I can make a different choice about how I feel. I mean, it was all the way down to even sitting in traffic. My recovery process is always in play. Even sitting in traffic and getting cut off and having that story that I'm telling about the asshole in front of me that just cut me off and screwed my whole day up when I don't even know the guy. Like I was able to realize in that moment, oh, this is a story I'm telling myself, and it's a habit. And now I can tell a different story, whether that story's true or not, whether the man's racing to the hospital to because his baby's being born or something, doesn't really matter. It frees me
Yeah, and
from
that's the big thing, is it frees
yes,
you.
yes,
You know,
yes.
we've got to give up the fight. We
Mm,
keep we are in a reality right now where it's either you fight for or you fight against, which is
yeah,
not really any different, because it's still, see, in either to fight against, you're resisting and reacting to something. But either,
yes,
and then you have the fight for it, which means you've already aligned and agreed with it. So either way, you've created it as solid and
yeah.
as it is, rather than get to a space of allowance of, oh, what if I didn't have a point of view about this?
Right.
Interesting point of view. I have this point of view, and get to a space where it's not about making anything real and true. It's about being in the question of what is this?
Yeah. Yes. Yes, and being open to receive, kind of what it really kind of is. It's the
Yeah,
same thing, you have to either stand outside of that consciousness of pick a side here, pick a
yeah,
side.
truthfully,
And it's hard to explain to people that say, well, we're standing up for what's right. Well, it's right to you. And the other side is standing up for what's right to them.
yeah,
And in no way, shape, or form is there ever going to be a meet in the middle. And you're right, because we continuous with a global consciousness to create in this sphere. And we wonder why these things that we're going through are not breaking loose. And it's because we're calling that in as just a fear-based consciousness. Pick a side, always be in resistance, be in fear. And then here they come, natural disasters and global pandemics, and we don't understand why or what it is, when we could just relax into what is true for you in this
yes.
moment.
Well, and
It's
that's the
amazing.
space. That's the space from which the power of us is also.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because you would think, power in this world is looked at as power over
Yes.
somebody. When
Yes.
true power is actually your willingness to be something different, your ability to
Yes.
be something different. And actual power comes from allowance. So
Mm,
it's like, because you could look at it. I mean, we could break it down with the fight for or fight against. One's right, one's wrong. Does it ever actually create change?
correct.
And that's where we've got to get a little bit more pragmatic, not only in our lives, but also in the world we're creating.
Yes.
I got to this thing months ago when I was actually in Sao Paulo, Brazil, facilitating. And I got up one morning and was just kind of cranky and didn't really want to go and facilitate. It was just, ugh. And, and I looked at it and went, okay, what kind of a world would I like to be in today? And got a sense of that. And I went, okay, so what would I need to be in that world?
Yes.
And that was, I just, when I did that, I just went, oh, you know what? I don't really have an excuse right now to be not an allowance and to be resisting these things. It's like, if that's the world I want to live in, sure, but it's actually not. So it's got to begin with me.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. You know, the world we think of this, I want to change the world, in this really big thing that is, much different and outside of us, when in reality we are changing the world as we change ourselves.
Yeah,
And that's the only power that we have. We
yeah,
don't have any power over anyone else. And realizing that putting your happiness or satisfaction or fulfillment in the hands of another person or a job or a thing, you are always giving your power away, and you're just left there for, okay, whatever life throws. And then we give ourselves stories like, oh, this is just the hand I was dealt, I just got to play it. And it's the biggest untruth that there is. Like, we are created as creators, and it's an amazing, empowering sense of self to know how much you really can create a life you love. You
yeah.
can get up right now and
Yep.
create it.
True
You can
story.
create it.
True story. And I like to see myself as a really good acknowledgement of that. I've been down and out many, 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 many times. And
Yeah,
it's like, and I know that it's the next choice I make is what's going to be creating that the space from which I make the next choice after that and the next choice after that. But it has to begin with one choice. So,
absolutely.
my question with people is, it's like, because even like the fight, the judgment, the upset, everything is a choice. And when you break it down like that, then if you looked at it and went, you go to judge yourself, or you go to judge somebody else, or fight somebody else, or whatever that is, it's like, okay, what small choice do I have right now that would create more ease with this? And
Mm,
then when you get that, and you make, instead of going to judgment, you go, hold on a minute. What if I didn't go to judgment right now? And you notice that your space changes a little bit. You've just changed. You've just, to a degree, started changing how your life is going to show up by that one choice. Because in your next choice, you're going to have more space of what's true for you to make another one.
absolutely. Absolutely. The awareness is so much of, part of the change, is that ability to become aware in the moment that, oh, I'm sitting in judgment. And
Yeah,
I know that I'm sitting in this because I feel my chest is tight. I feel my shoulders are raised. I feel all this. All of a sudden you can just become back to awareness of you, and again make that choice. And when you ask the question, what kind of world do I want to live in, and who would I need to be to live in this world? That is like the focal clearing of, what story are we going to create today? Like, what story are we going to live by today?
yeah,
And I think that with so much talk in the world right now, we have to. I'd like to get your insight, because there's probably not a human being alive right now that is not overrun with hearing stuff like law of attraction and all of this stuff. And there's so much that's not being said, because we got to sell courses and you got to do these things, but you gave the key, and you were talking about, who do I need to be? So what does all this mean to you, and what's the truth about these laws, and these laws of the universe?
well, I would say with that, the law of the universe is the universe always speaks truth. So with that is, it's like, you'll know when you're lying to yourself and wonder why your life's not showing up the way you think it should, is
Mm,
because how much of that life that you're asking for is actually true for you.
yes.
I've worked with people like looking for a relationship, and they're like, I really want a relationship, and I've been asking for 2 years and I can't seem to get one. And I go, okay, so and here's the question that you ask, and you can think it in your head when you're asking yourself a question or somebody else, is truth. Do you actually desire a relationship? Because the law of the universe is, if you ask truth, you either, the person tells you the truth, or you get to know if they're lying. And this
Yeah.
works really good with yourself too. But I'll ask them the question of, okay, do you actually desire the relationship? And they have so they have it so decided in their world that when they actually get to be with it and go, oh shit, I don't actually think I do, their whole life turns around because it's that one lie that's stopping them.
Yes. Yes. And you talking about what, what part of these, this stuff or this life you want really belongs to you and is really true for you, because there's so much conditioning that lives in the one question of ask yourself, what does success mean to you? And
Yeah.
I guarantee you, if you're just becoming into the world of being conscious of yourself and your thoughts and your stories and feelings, you'll say something that you do, like there will be things or something you do, and you'll have this whole thing mapped out. And so much of that is not even true. I used to think that, oh, money would change everything.
I
If I
mean,
just got money,
yep.
it would change it all. And
Yep.
I quickly got to find out that I couldn't almost lose that money fast enough in the energy I was in, because it didn't change shit. And it was the most disappointing moment. I was like, oh, well, now
Well,
what outside of me do I chase
yeah,
to bring
exactly.
happiness?
And
What's
that's it.
next?
And that's it. And we keep, we keep doing it. And also, it's like, for a lot of us, and I would say a lot of us listening to this, is we're seekers.
Yeah.
We're seeking something different. So, but in that seeking, it's like, okay, we tend to have got off track a little bit with, we're seeking the things that the non-seekers tell us we should have that are going to make us happy, like money,
Yes.
like the perfection of life, the perfect body, all the assets, all of that stuff. And it's like, and you get to, as a seeker, you get to it and you're like, well, that didn't change anything, because
Yeah.
what you're actually seeking for is the miracles and the magic that the universe has for us. That's why
Yes.
when, if you're one of those people that kind of judges yourself all the time, that's, you're probably one of those seekers, because it's like we usually have two kind of people, basically, like which is the people who are always constantly in judgment of everybody else,
Yes.
and then the people who are constantly in judgment of themselves. And
Mhm.
they're always the ones that, I know I'm one of them, who has been in judgment of myself my whole life, is always the ones that have the most capacity to create change.
Yes. Yes.
And we give
Yes.
it up for the ones who appear to have power, which is actually power over, rather than recognize, you know what, I actually have the capacity to acknowledge that there are more choices available than I've been given as this menu. And I'm going to start making different choices and exploring what it is to be different. Then my question is, if enough of us on the planet start choosing that, what kind of a world do we have?
Gosh. Oh my gosh. It's so amazingly, like I want that world. That's
Yeah,
the
me
world that I
too.
want.
Me too. And can I also say to that, we are getting it.
Yes, I
We
believe
actually
so
are
too.
creating it,
I believe so. I believe so
Me too.
too.
Yep. I mean, if you
Yeah.
look, even with the way um, all the stuff with COVID is going at the moment, it is finally starting to break apart.
Yes.
The lies
Yes.
cannot stay in place for they're starting to break apart, and they can't
Yeah.
hold ground, is because enough of us are going, you know what? We're going to ask for change with this.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I am in full agreement with you in that. And I'm almost, excited to see it, unfold, just to see this magic that is happening with us
Yeah.
as a human consciousness in this moment, watching so many of us create together. I mean, even, I'm born in 74. To be a trans person in the world right now is so much different now than, even remotely thinking about it in, the 70s or
Uh-huh.
the 80s. It's a more space where all of a sudden we're just looking, when we see someone who's a transgendered, we're just looking at their work. They're going home to themselves. We're watching their whole metamorphosis and change and transformation. And I think it's a beautiful thing because everybody's walking around with that transformation going on inside of them in one way or the other.
Yeah.
You're either coming back home to yourself or you're running even farther from yourself, and that's the only two. That's the battle that's happening. And you're right, you're so right, just because it's those of us that show up to the party of the thing that we think is supposed to make us happy and realize that it doesn't.
Yeah.
And that awareness that it borders on that hopelessness, because I remember when I felt the hopelessness of losing 100 pounds. That didn't work. All of a sudden it was supposed to work. I almost did it with gender transition, thinking, oh, well, when I get to this, it's going to work. And then I said, no, 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 wait, that's a story. There's another story. Thank God I've done enough work now
Yeah.
not to show up to that party again, because it
Uh-huh.
sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
but but just to begin to start to see things and then vibrate with people like yourself, and a lot of the people that are here with us now, Pamela, Anthony, Charlene, just all of these different human beings in the world right now that are saying, yes, I hear you. Yes, I hear you.
Well, and that's the thing too, is it's not about excluding everything and anything. It's about not having it as the source for the creation of anything in your life, so that
Yes.
everything begins to become an addition. We have a
Yeah.
definition of consciousness with access consciousness is everything and everyone is included, and nothing and no one is judged.
Mm,
And it's,
beautiful.
because that's the world of everything gets to actually contribute to each other, and we get to
Yeah.
contribute to each other. And it's not about having an expectation that anyone or anything should be different. It's actually functioning from the allowance of having everything show up the way that it can be, to be the greatest gift that it is. Even
Correct.
the things that you think are wrong,
Yes.
which is the other thing. Like, you could look at the stuff going, like we've talked about with the fight, the stuff going on the planet right now. Well, the more we go into wrongness of it, the more we feed what creates it.
Correct. 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 Because that's what we get back is that, like that, like energy attracts like energy. So we have a so I think that, so let's talk about this while it's on. So I got a comment on, and it talks about, how harsh judgment of self is very prominent in those with depression,
Yeah.
along with severe escalation of that self judgment from something trivial to suicidal ideation. So let's talk there. Let's start
Yes,
there.
please. Yeah.
Because I remember being there in that space,
Me
and
too.
talking now. um let's talk about it from there. Like, if you're starting in that place, what do you know about beginning to harness what we're talking about now? like
Okay.
like
Great.
where would you start?
Awesome. And thank you for bringing this up, because I get it. And it does sound
Yeah.
harsh to make it that simple. I get that. But okay, so two things. First of all, I would say for people, start with find the access consciousness bars. It literally saved my life. And I know hundreds of thousands of people around the world who have been in a similar position, and it has changed their life.
Outstanding.
This is not even a sales pitch. This is a pure caring for the people in the world that actually need it.
Yes.
So I would say start with that. But the next thing is, one of the tools and awareness that we have that in access consciousness is, and this is where shit will get weird. And I like getting weird because I am weird. But
Get weird.
is
Love it.
98% at least of our thoughts, our feelings, and our emotions don't belong to us. We are like
Correct.
psychic sponges of the universe. And it's like, notice when you'll be having a good day, and then a thought will pop into your head about how pissed off you are. Or you'll be around family members, and you'll usually have all this space, and then you're in massive judgment of yourself. Well, that's because you're aware. And we really don't acknowledge the level of awareness that we have as beings. And one of the things that we do is, it's like, if you have, and I really know what this is like with the stuff that I've had with drinking and depression and anxiety, all of that stuff, is you'll pick up one thought of, oh, I'm not enough. And because it's familiar, because it's familiar energetically and because you've had it before, you start creating a universe out of it as if it's you, and within an hour to a day, you're gone again. And this is how depression works. So the question with it is, who does this belong to? Ask it with every thought, feeling, and emotion that comes up. And if it lightens up at all, then it's not yours. And when I first came along and used this tool, like I was just, to talk about depressed, I hated myself. And I started realizing, I went, oh shit. Like I started looking over the years, was none of it was really mine.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
but all I wanted to do, like my mum, she had so much pain and suffering in her world. All I wanted to do was take it off her.
Mm.
You know, and I didn't know how. So it's like, I'm going to buy it. I'm going to take that on as my reality just so she feels better about herself.
Yeah.
And it's very often the ones of us who truly care that tend to destroy ourselves with that caring. And you know, this world that I would like to be in, one of the things in that is I would like people to at least get that they have the tools not to do that.
Yes. Yes.
Because
Yes.
I get it. And it's like you've suffered long enough. And so I would say those two things. And also like start making it a demand in your world to find some sliver of light when it seems impossible.
Yes.
I don't know what that is for you, but so for me, if I go into some dark space, some heavy space, is I'm going to find something, just anything to make me lighter, and then I'm going to go for that until I can get out of the darkness.
Yeah.
But you know, so find something to take you out of it, and have whatever it takes for you. Find some kindness for yourself.
Yeah, and that's beautiful, and that's a hard thing to begin to find, you know, when we first start our recovery journey, and I mean recovery from any part, you know, like I think
Yeah.
that we're all in some point when we are moving towards the higher and best of ourselves and for ourselves, we are in recovery because we are recovering from the conditioning of life. And I think that the greatest question in all of that is, who does this belong to? Because if you can really get like still with that question, and I invite everybody that's here and everybody that watches this on the replay, if you hear nothing else tonight, hear that, like,
Oh
and
yeah.
sit still and invite some knowing of that, of who does this belong to, you know, is this me? And you can find it in every area of your life, whether it's about, you know, body image, you know, consciousness, if it's about, you know, anything, addiction. Ask yourself, you know, like, who does this shame really belong to? Where did it come from? Like, does this belong to me, or is this something I brought on or taken on? And you know, I think that's the most profound question, and it will now go above my office here as the
Oh
new
yeah.
question,
Well,
right there with my deeper truth questions.
yeah, and it is, because we need a reminder.
We do.
When you live in a world, well, it's not even a world, because I say a world and it has nothing to do with planet Earth. When I say that, I'm talking about the reality that we've created based on judgment and limitation and fight. But it's like, so remembering to be in question when it's like everything around you is designed to basically destroy the joy of you. It's like you've got to be tenacious in the fight for possibilities if
Yes.
that's what you desire as your life. And I've learned that, because it's like you drop you just go, oh well, I just judged myself today. You've gone back down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's really is getting present in your life and going, you know what, I'm gonna, to the best of my ability, I'm gonna start being the question.
Yes, amazing. Amazing. And I remember, and in new recovery, that message goes that, you know, no matter, like, in the beginning, it's going to be so hard sometimes to hang on to that, but you have to just be committed and tenacious to find that that joy, find something to hold on to. It
Yeah.
does get better as you continue to hold on, and you hold on for longer. And even if you slip, you held on for 5 minutes longer this time than you did last time. We have to get out of that place of treating ourselves like we should be something different than we are, but we will open our arms up and be compassionate to another human being going through the same thing we're going through in front of us. Like, we
Yeah.
have to learn how to let go of that shame, realize who that actually belongs to. And that, I've even learned in my recovery, Brendon, and I wonder what you think about this, but to almost thank my addiction and even a lot of my traumas for allowing me to see who I really am, and just how much, for all the times I called myself weak under that label of addict, I was strong as hell, man. Like I was going through shit
Yeah.
that is tough shit, and I was still hanging in there.
Yeah.
I was using or whatever, but we can't forget that we have been the one standing in the gap, and
Yeah.
to introduce yourself to every person within you, whether it be the 7-year-old that went through divorce or sexual abuse, or whether it be the teenager who, went through whatever, whether, and then the early 20s, and all of those people that stood true for you in those times, they're still within you. And we can acknowledge them and get to know them, and like create this wholeness of ourselves that's, we acknowledge every part. And I
Yeah.
think that's beautiful part of recovery, and that's the gift to me of addiction. And man, so what do you got going on? Because I think we could probably sit here for the next six
Oh,
hours and
we could
have
we apparently
an
yeah.
entire more conversation
You get on
about this.
those chats though, and it's like we could talk about it for days and just keep
Yeah,
talking about that, because it's what's up, and I do
it,
get the people. It's it's what's going on, and it's valuable awarenesses when we're talking about people's lives. We're talking about our world.
yes, yes, yes. And every human is a part of us, like we're just, walking with each other, like creating this thing all at the same time. It gets very exciting, and I'm
Yeah.
so grateful to be in a place in my life where I'm excited to wake up every day. Hadn't always been that way.
Yeah, I hear you, my friend. I didn't actually, even, to be honest, I didn't think it could actually ever be that way.
No, I couldn't either, man. No,
You
I
know?
was convinced. I
Yeah,
was convinced. I was on my way out.
yeah,
That was
me
it.
too.
That
Me
was
too.
it.
Yeah, while not wanting to admit it.
Yes, but the whole time not wanting to admit it, for
Yeah,
sure. For
yeah,
sure. Well, what do you got? Where can people find you? I've got Access Consciousness right up here. I've also got your website, brendonwatt.com, in
they're the
the
two. They're the two main
description.
ones.
You
Yeah.
got books everywhere. You got a great relationship book. You got books and so much, man. Just tell people where they can get more Brendon Watt and where you want them to go.
I would say check out that. Check out brendonwatt.com and accessconsciousness.com. Check out YouTube with you'll find so much on Access Consciousness. We have so much free stuff. We have something on anything, and so just check it out. And like you said before, that thing of truly, if you make a demand of yourself to never give in, never give up, and never quit, you will get there.
Yes, you will. Yes,
You
you
will get,
will.
and can I just say, it is. Please do, because the world needs more people who desire something different. It truly
Yes.
does.
Yes, without a doubt. We've had enough of the heaviness.
Yes.
Let's realize that what we've
Yeah.
been doing ain't working, and
Yeah.
let's do something different.
Yeah.
And life is pretty sunny even when it's not supposed to be. It's really sunny over here. I mean, it really is good not to show up to something with a judgment about how it should be. And we cannot even imagine that we can live in a world like that. You
Yeah.
know, we
And you can,
you
and it's like,
can.
and we have the mantra for Access Consciousness is, all of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. And
Mm,
that is basically our whole target is because it's not. You're gonna have shitty days.
Yeah.
No, it's not about getting this life of everything's going to be rainbows and butterflies. That is
Correct.
that, and I'm just going to say straight up that
Say
is
it.
bullshit.
Absolutely.
It does not exist. The
Absolutely.
consciousness is about recognizing that you can have ease even in the times where people want to fall apart.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
so it's just so much more available that we have, and we just we just have to reach for it.
Yeah, that's it. Be determined to get it, and like Brendon said, never give up. And you know, the mantra that we have for Recovery Soul Food is get up from your give up and create a life that you love.
Yeah.
And you know, so if you hang on, there's no way that it can't be for you. And that's just so true. And I'll spend the rest of my life, man, doing my best to shout it out to the world,
Me too.
and I love it. I love it. When you've come from the bottom, man, there's nowhere to go but the top.
Right?
I
Yeah.
love it, bro.
Yeah.
I love you, man. You got me fired up. I'm so grateful to now have another amazing human being in my reality, man. I'm
You
so
too,
grateful
my
for it.
friend. You too. This has been awesome, and I'm really
Yeah,
grateful to talk to you about this and to see where
yeah,
you just the gift that you're being. So thank you,
man.
truly.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you, and I hope that we can stay in touch. Everybody, thank you so much for spending this time with me and my new friend and this amazing human being, Brendon Watt. I'm so excited. You know, I didn't know how to find Brendon Watt. When we think how to things, our limited perception of how things can be done when we ask for them, whether you call it prayer or mantra or whatever you call it, when you speak out for something, if you only expect to get it in your limited vision of how, you won't get it. At the beginning of this season, I asked for like-hearted people that were changing the world by changing themselves, and I wanted to grow a tribe of amazing human beings, and it has happened, and I have not been in control of the how and wouldn't want to be. And that's how Brendon came to me, and I'm so excited. So open your life up today, y'all. You can do it. You can get up from your give up and create a life you love. Go check out brendonwatts.com. Check out Access Consciousness. I'm going to be, as soon as I get off here, I'm going to find those bars and I'm going to get it done.
Where do you
And
live?
I live in North Carolina.
Okay, cool. Well,
So
let me know if you need help.
I think I found one, in fact, in a close town of mine, I
Okay,
think.
cool.
But I will be reaching out, man. I'm gonna be reaching out.
Okay,
So
cool.
just
Awesome.
expect it.
Yep.
All right, everybody, join me next week as I have Dora Gosling from the Soberoso podcast. She's gonna come and spend some time with us, and we've got a great season lined up. Y'all go find Brendon Watt. Brendon Watt, thank you so much.
Thank you, my friend.
I love you all. This has been an amazing experience. I'm the most blessed human on earth. I just know it. All right. Until next time. Peace, y'all.